Hi, my name is Kim, and this is an oil lamp that I made, or that I designed and made. Uh, what's special about this oil lamp is it burns olive oil, and it's got a couple of other tricks, up its sleeve. I'm doing an introduction video to for this channel with this video now, and it's basically all going to be about this oil lamp and the journey that's been and what is still to come. The plan with this oil lamp is that I've designed it, prototyped it, and now I want to manufacture it and then also sell it all myself. And the the sort of special part about this journey is that I'm trying to do this on a very small scale, making a half a square meter workshop. So that's basically the gist of it in short, and I'm going to introduce the light and then talk a little bit about myself, and then what I plan to do with making some of these videos. So this is a olive oil lamp, like I said. There is an oyster shell here, which acts as like a light collector. So when all the lights are out, you can see that it glows and disperses the light a little bit better. So you can see this is the oyster shell. This is also an aesthetic choice that is, a nice way for the complexity of nature to balance the sort of rigidity of the steel of the metal. It's brass. The oil lamp consists of a reservoir at the top and a bath here. There's a stem, and the wick goes down into the neck and down coiled into the bath. So there can be like 30 centimeters coiled up in there. It will last probably a couple of years. The lamp functions that the oil in the reservoir slowly fills up a bath and then creates an airlock, so it can't fill anymore, and the oil level stays at exactly the same height the whole time, which allows the thicker olive oil to be sucked up into the wick and to be burnt effectively. Having the fuel source so close to the flame means that the wick itself won't be burnt. It'll be it's pretty optimally designed, so there's the least amount of wick burning possible, which means you've got a much longer wick life and you don't have to trim it very often. And it burns for something like 35-40 hours on a fill, and to fill you just pull the top out and turn it over, fill it up with oil and put it back on. This is all built with tolerances in the metal. That means there's no O-rings and there's no parts that can wear out with time, and then 5 years down the track you can't use it anymore because you can't find any parts or something. So basically this will work forever unless you drive a tank over it or something like that. There's also another version that I made with 2 oysters and 2 flames, which is also nice. The main thing about this oil lamp is that it burns olive oil actually instead of the normal paraffin oil, like most oil lamps and also candles. They burn a mineral oil that is some kind of either solid or liquid form of kerosene. It's always made me a little bit unsure about whether that's great to burn inside a house, especially in winter time. when maybe there's not as much ventilation as you would like. The reason I wanted to build an olive oil lamp is one, candles aren't really my thing. Sometimes they get a bit messy, and it's just I've for some reason always thought about oil lamps, or not always, but I've thought about oil lamps. Also, when I make things, I seem to make things that sort of bring us back down and sort of away from sort of artificial lights or artificial information and different things, that it's sort of generally something that sort of is a more calming, stress relieving things, and I really like the effect of an open flame. It's also, particularly olive oil, quite widely used in meditation and prayer, and I think, and also sort of rituals. I feel like having a candle at the dinner table and creating a ritual of sort of being as a family is also, a very healthy thing. So that's sort of the personal drive behind building the lamp, and then it's also just my sort of nature to have to do something. So now a little bit about me. I grew up in Australia with two European parents, and previously I was an aircraft maintenance engineer working for Qantas, and that was avionics, so I was electrical communications, navigation, and fixing Airbus and Boeing aircraft. So that was sort of my start of my technical career. I also built things as a kid, with wood and metal. After leaving Qantas, I came over to Germany and ended up starting a sculpture that got way out of hand and took far too long, and was sort of like a mini, metalworking apprenticeship all in its own. And that sort of kickstarted my career into metalwork, where I've basically been working since I've been here, quite a lot in the art world, building sculptures for people, and last year, so in 2021, I did a Meisterausbildung, where there's not really any comparison to, but the German system has, they make tradesmen go and do 1 year full-time study, which covers advanced practical, advanced theory, but also business administration and sort of cost analysis and then also how to be able to train apprentices. And that's something that certain trades are required to do before you can call yourself a Metallbauer or a Tischler or something. It's a welder and a carpenter. So that was interesting. I'll probably talk about that in another video as well. But that was definitely something definitely an interesting experience. After I finished this, I got a job I have a job. I work there, sort of 80%. And we build everything that goes onto cargo bikes or cargo bike trailers. So not the bikes themselves, but sort of different, information stands, coffee stands, so many different sort of things that we build for people. And sort of this is where sort of what I'm doing now, I'm trying to couple with what I'm doing in my private life, and it makes sense for me to try and develop a mini workshop that can fit on the back of a cargo bike trailer. So half a square meter. We have like Euro boxes over here, that are stackable. So it would be sort of like two of these wide that sort of stack up, and it would also be modular, so you can actually take apart either half of it or in thirds, so you can then pack it into a car or take it somewhere. And the reason being is that I've had, to work in little cellars, and I've then also had bigger workshops and heavy machines, and space is hard to come by nowadays. So I've decided to focus on the smallest workshop that I can make, and to make also this lamp from basically B to Z. Like, I would get these two parts of the tube pre-cut and the base lasered, and that would sort of be what I would get, and all the rest I would sort of do myself, soldering, brazing. So that's the channel is going to be about this small workshop, and the sort of the building of this, also to do with the prototyping, design choices, tooling, different soldering and brazing techniques, sort of artistic constraints that can sort of help you in some cases find a direction. And then also sort of the business sides of things, with how to price something properly, and how to calculate everything accurately, so you really know where you're making money or where you're losing money. Both things are really important. And then things about sort of marketing and it's not that I have a great deal of experience about this, but I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, that I've sort of wanted to bring something, to make something myself, and to sell it to people. That there's a very huge sort of energy output from designing something and making it, to then manufacturing it and selling it. Is like this sort of, that side of the curve, I think, can be pretty frightening and intimidating, which kind of should be. But I find it sort of like a challenge that I've always wanted to take on. So with sort of my technical background, the job that I have at the moment, and this lamp that I really like, that I think our world can sort of, it's okay for our world to have a few more things that are less tech. So okay, so a little bit about why I wanted to make this, these films. The idea is to have some, kind of like mini series layout, where we go through various things, but it's going through something that I'm doing in the real world, trying to, just document that journey, and the journey that's been, and the journey that's going to come, and to do it in a real time, where you sort of I've got the fine details in my head, and I can talk about these. These are things that are interesting to me, the really fine details, and I don't really have anyone that I can sort of talk to about these things. So that's sort of a reason why I wanted to document this, that it's sort of not a whole bunch of sort of information and processes and ideas that sort of is then forgotten about. And in that might also sort of be useful for someone else down the line. So it's sort of something current that is that it's going to be a little bit raw. It's not going to be overly edited, but it's going to follow this journey, and the films are sort of more just to document this process, and the films aren't the product that I'm trying to sell. Like, this is the product that I'm trying to make and sell. And that's something that sometimes is a bit difficult online to find. There's lots of things of how to make this and that, and the video is really what they're trying to sell you. So I guess I wanted to. The reason why I'm making this is because I couldn't really find too many things where it's sort of very details orientated over a stretch of time. So that's sort of that's a little bit about the the channel. I think I really like this idea, and also sort of it's been a little bit liberating in a sense, but also sort of extra work. But in creating this idea, I've sold all my big tools that I had in my workshop. I started with a lathe that was 250 kilos, and you move that once and then you sell it, so someone else has to move it to take it away. And then I did the same with the next lathe that I had was 120 kilos, which is still too many kilos, and that's also gone. Other tools that are big and bulky are gone, and I've reduced everything into like really small tools that maybe don't require as much rigidity. So there's sort of probably going to be a little bit more like sanding, and maybe like higher speed things that don't require or don't put too much force on different sort of cutting tools or machines. And then all these processes I'm also trying to complete with the least amount of tooling, obviously, and not only that, but also to try to make jigs that I can set up, not just one part, but maybe 5 parts or 10 parts, depending on the part, which will definitely increase the speed of production. So this sort of like the process engineering side of a half a square meter workshop is pretty fun and interesting, but also there's a million ways to do it, so it's a little bit much at times, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. So the point at the moment is that I've got a pretty rough design of the mini workshop. It's going to be something about 95 centimeters tall. It's going to have some rollers on the bottom, so you can like push it around. It's going to be modular. There's going to be the top's going to be something like 900 by 650, and then with 2 attachable arms that drop down at various heights, so I can also sit down and work at one side and braze sort of on an aluminium surface and do something else over here, or just to hold things. So it's going to be a little bit versatile as well. It'll have some feet to stable itself, and then also later on down the track I'm probably going to weld on some brackets, so I can sort of attach some wheels, and the whole thing will then also be a trailer. So that's sort of the plan. It's not 100% thought through yet or designed yet, but most of the parts are ordered, and I just have to decide on how what size boxes have to go where, and what I want to cover it with. So that's kind of where I am, as just like a little bit of a sort of idea. And the plan is to build this in the next week and a half too, and I've only got 2 days in those weeks, so I'm trying to decide on how good do I make it. Do I make it really good now, which is possible, but maybe not as the best idea of maybe using something that's quite good now or good enough, and then making a version 2 later. Haven't decided yet. And then I guess sort of maybe in a week or 2 I'd like to do the first order of all the materials for that. So that would be something like 40 tubes, and like the what is it, the Rohstock, the raw materials to make the rest of this. So tooling, I think I bought a lot of little sort of like cube Proxon tools, and I have to design and make quite a lot of jigs. So there's a lot of work to do, but it's fun, and I like this part of it where you sort of have to plan things like process engineering is quite interesting. I would have liked to have done that to some extent. And but then also I personally find manufacturing quite calming. Doing repetitive work gives you the chance to really get good at something. I used to make aluminium and steel picture frames, and it's a pretty, there's some not simple constructions, but mainly it's a pretty simple construction. But doing something so often, you really get to practice this skill, and you get to a point where you can like do it exactly, and you get to learn what everything does and where everything pulls, and then you can sort of like transfer these skills into your other work, because at the end of the day it's all just joining a couple of pieces of metal, and once you understand the principle, then you can sort of apply it to a lot of different places. And that's something that I really like. So like doing sort of like this like manufacture is something that I like, and I'm also looking forward to. Who knows if I want to make thousands of them, but let's just start with like 40 and like see how we go. But yeah, that's I think that's about it. So a little bit, the next things that are going to be coming up, I guess, will be something about the prototypes that 1 second. So the next part that's going to be coming up will be probably something about like the prototypes. I've got many photos of different I've probably made like 50 or 70 different prototypes. It's changed quite a lot from the start, and I'm going to go through that a little bit, and then sort of maybe something about making the jigs, because that's probably going to be coming up quite soon, and a little bit about the workshop. So I think there's some fun things coming in down the line, how do I cost it and things like that. So I'm going to sort of follow it pretty, what's the word, chronologically. So if it seems interesting, and if you'd like to, I don't know, I guess like if you'd like to also just see what it's like for a designer, metal worker, to make a product and then try to sell it, like that's also just, I guess anyone doing something like that would be interesting to see. So if you're interested, do things, write to me, click the buttons, and let me know what you think, and maybe if you want something specific, about this journey. Thanks for your time.